So with that as just some basic background, Marcia, would you like to just fill us in a little bit more about how the tiers lay out?
Yes, you might want to refer to your handouts on page 5, I think, page 5.
Marcia, actually, let me just say one last thing. I visited about 12 classrooms today, and in nearly half of them, blended learning was happening. Teachers were using online tools to interact with both print texts and other student work that the kids were doing. So teachers were composing curriculum that used online resources, but that also was place-based, was very much about the relationships in the school with that teacher. And so what you see at the very top of our tiered plan on page 5 is blended learning. So tonight we're going to focus a lot on online curriculum. But we don't see these two things as entirely separate. So blended learning is where teachers are using some curriculum that they prepare, using resources that are out there, to meet the goals of the course. And with online learning, what we're seeing is using something that is much more exclusively a curriculum that's prepared and that may have some face-to-face teaching, that may have more of a virtual teacher. So there's really a sort of continuum that we're looking at.
And there's some information in the back on page 16 and 17 on blended learning. So it can be teachers using digital tools. It can be, as many teachers do, post all of the assignments on the web, and kids can get the assignments that way, or having interactive dialogue, up to using interactive tools like Skype or a interactive whiteboard. So that's going on and growing as people become more aware of, and the tools are always there. So that's why that's kind of at the top of the chart. Tier 1 is what we're doing now, except that we have got to have highly qualified teachers for every one of our students. And so that's a place we need to move to with our credit recovery. Tier 2 then is providing a lot of really specialized needs, and I'm in conversations with some of our special staff now with a student who is perhaps school phobic and wants to learn but just can't do it in the school environment. There's an example of when that might be helpful. Or like Sue Ann said, the geometry class where we have 2 kids at one school, 5 kids at another school, 3 kids at another school. We could have them all be one class working together with the teacher. Tier 3 then is really, instead of looking at doing credit recovery by doing an entire course, Tier 3 is looking at the competencies or the proficiencies that the student hasn't met and designing a customized way for those students to have more practice, more time, more one-on-one support, and online tools are a really good way to do that. And then Tier 4 is what many think of, and that is a virtual school where students are doing online courses full-time. We have a place where teachers are, and we have highly qualified teachers for all of our courses. And finally, Tier 5 would be a supplemental program so that students can take an extra course or a course that they want to fill their schedule with something different, and so they're taking a required course online. That would be a supplemental type course. So we have kind of divided these out so that we can see that there are lots of different needs that we can meet, and want to be able to meet the needs for all students. The other thing I want to say about the curriculum for online is a curriculum. It's like a textbook and tests that a teacher would use, right? It still needs a teacher. It still needs a teacher to interact with the student. Hey, good job, you increased your score by 5%. Having that daily contact. And it's not independent learning on a computer. That's not what we're calling online learning. All online courses have teachers that are interacting with the student and helping them. So that's just an overview. You've got your materials in advance, and we would be glad to listen to your conversation, or if you have questions, answer questions.
Henry, I'll actually go first. But
All right.
yeah, but so especially I'm just really excited. Especially towards the end, especially just from the Super Sat conversation, the students were they were all really interested in online learning, especially the ones who needed kind of more advanced and supplemental coursework that wasn't actually available at the class. I did have a concern on the tiers. So I just thought that for tier 2, if you had a teen parent or expelled students or students with medical problems, it just seemed to me that sometimes they would need more personal contact and support rather than more online learnings. And like maybe you could explain more about why tier 2 is kind of more prioritized than tiers 4 and 5, which I think a lot more students could benefit from as an added course load.
Those are really great questions, and I want to start with saying your observation about those students with more special circumstances is really right on. In fact, we know that students who have experienced any kind of school failure or have really acute challenges definitely do need that additional personalization. And so what we're also, though, trying to do is make certain that we have tools that teachers can use that will help them regardless of whether their circumstances allow them to be in school or require them to be out of school for a period of time or in a particular place. So that's part of the thinking about that, but I take your point. I'm excited to hear that at Super SAC also students across the district are really interested in how we might have more opportunities and access to online learning. Do you want to talk about the tiers a little more? Relative to Henry's other question?
Yes, and I want to say, I think Sue-Ann really said, we have, so often the student is, for whatever reason, has to be out of school, homebound, and we do have teachers now who provide instruction for them, but they kind of have to pull things together and rely on the teacher back at the school to give them assignments. Sometimes they don't get them. And so this is a consistent curriculum that the student can keep doing when their teacher isn't there with them face to face. But the fact that a teacher is necessary for every one of these tiers. Personalization is what teachers do and really what motivates most kids. And so including tier 4 or tier 5, those are all courses with teachers.